Have you ever really thought about how those massive barges make their way up and down the mighty Mississippi River? Well, the secret isn't just brute force. It's actually this elegant, nearly century-old engineering marvel that's kind of hidden in plain sight. Today, we're going to unlock the story of the Mississippi's incredible lock and dam system.
All right, so first things first, let's just bust a huge myth. When you hear the word dam, you're probably picturing something like the Hoover Dam, right? A giant wall holding back a canyon, generating tons of power. But on the upper Mississippi, that is not what's happening at all. These are what you call low-head dams, and they're built for one reason and one reason only, to create these long, calm pools of water. It's a highway for boats. It's all about navigation, not power generation.
So if it's not about making electricity, then what's the big idea? Honestly, the best way to think about this entire system is as one gigantic liquid staircase. And that's really the heart of it. You've got 29 locks and dams all working together in a sequence to tame the river's natural slope. They create this gentle, step-by-step descent for boats traveling all the way from Minneapolis down to St. Louis. It's how they get around all the river's naturally shallow and tricky spots. But why even build this massive staircase in the first place? I mean, what was so wrong with the river? To get that, we have to go back in time and see what the Mississippi was like before all this. And let me tell you, it was a completely different beast. You see, the original Upper Mississippi was just wild. It was filled with these shifting sandbars you could never predict. The currents were all over the place. And in the dry seasons, the water could drop to just 2 or 3 feet deep in some spots. So for any kind of serious, reliable commercial shipping, it was completely useless. And that brings us to the magic number, the one number that drove this entire decades-long construction project: 9 feet. That was the goal. Engineer a system that could guarantee a minimum 9-foot channel all year round. Turn the river into a dependable economic highway right through the heart of the country. Okay, so how do you get a massive barge up and down these watery stairs? Well, the solution is this incredibly clever device that acts like a water elevator. And the best part? It's powered entirely by gravity, not a single pump needed. So the basic building block of this whole system is something called a navigation pool. Each of those low-head dams holds back just enough water to create a long, stable lake behind it. And that guarantees that 9-foot depth we were talking about. The locks, they're just the gateways that let boats move between these pools of different water levels. The whole process is just beautiful in its simplicity. A boat pulls into the concrete lock chamber. These giant doors called miter gates swing shut and seal it in. Now, if you want to go up, valves open and water from the upper pool just flows in by gravity, lifting the boat. To go down, the opposite happens. Valves open to the lower pool and the water flows out. No pumps, no external power, just pure, simple physics at work. Okay. But here's the kicker. This system was designed back in the 1930s, and the cargo tows we use today, they are way, way bigger than the locks themselves. So how in the world do you solve that little puzzle? And yeah, this chart really puts it into perspective. A typical Mississippi lock is about 600 feet long, and that sounds huge, right? But then you look at the new locks on the Panama Canal, they're more than double that, at 1,400 feet long. This size difference creates a very unique logistical headache on the Mississippi. So now you've got this fascinating math problem. A standard tow, made up of 15 barges, is about 1,200 feet long. You have a 1,200-foot-long vehicle trying to get through a 600-foot-long door. How on earth does that work? Well, they have to do it in 2 trips. The towboat pushes the front half of the barges into the lock and then literally unhooks them. The lock does its thing, cycling that first section through. While that's happening, the towboat zips back to grab the second half. Then the entire convoy has to be painstakingly put back together on the other side. It's this slow, careful dance that can easily take over an hour to complete for just one lock. So let's zoom out for a second. This system isn't just some cool engineering project. It's a piece of living history. And it has this massive economic and ecological footprint that we're still feeling every single day.
You know, this entire system was born out of the Great Depression. It was part of Roosevelt's New Deal in the 1930s. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers started building it with 2 really clear goals. First, create thousands of desperately needed jobs. And second, build a piece of infrastructure that would fuel the Midwest's economy for generations to come.
And you know what? It absolutely worked.
Today, that river staircase is basically a floating superhighway for the American heartland. It moves enormous amounts of Midwest grain out to the rest of the world, along with all kinds of essential goods like petroleum, coal, and construction materials that the whole regional economy depends on.
But taming a river this big always comes with a price. There's a serious trade-off. On the one hand, these slower, calmer pools have actually created new wetlands that are vital for migratory birds and some types of fish. But on the other hand, the dams are a wall for natural fish migration. They cause sediment to build up, and they've completely changed the river's natural dynamics. It's a really complex environmental balancing act. And here's something that is so cool, but most people totally miss it: how water efficient this system is. See, the Panama Canal uses millions of gallons of fresh water from artificial lakes for every single ship, and then it just dumps that water into the ocean, lost forever. The Mississippi system, it just uses the river's own flow. The water comes in, does the work of lifting or lowering the boat, and then it just continues right on its way downstream. Nothing is wasted.
And all of this leaves us with a really critical question. This system, which is almost 100 years old, is an undeniable economic engine, but it also permanently changed a massive ecosystem. So as we look to the future, the challenge is still right there in front of us. How do we maintain these vital economic lifelines while also making sure our great rivers are healthy for the next 100 years?